Hi everyone. So now we are going to discuss uh, an important topic that is the also branch of microbiology, that is food microbiology. In previous videos we have seen about aquatic microbiology. Then after food microbiology we are going to deal about the soil microbiology. So this is the first part of food microbiology. In the second part we are going to discuss about the food preservation methods. So in this video, we are going to discuss about the introduction of food microbiology, then a storage life of foods, then sources of microorganisms which inoculate the spoilage of food, then food spoilage, then what were the changes during spoilage, then chemical changes, then what is the moisture content and what are the water activity which cause the food spoilage, then causes of food spoilage, then we are going to discuss about the factors which affect the growth of microorganisms, that is intrinsic factors, extrinsic factors, then chemical factors, biological factors, and last is relative humidity. So this is my telegram channel, you can join for downloading the PDF link for these notes. Okay, so let us continue. So the production occurs at a specific areas and at a certain periods of the year due to variation in weather conditions. So as we know, we can grow wheat only in winter season. We can grow in North India generally. We can grow paddy during rainy seasons, monsoon period. So there is a lot of variations in weather. So that's why we cannot grow every crops at a time. So because of weather conditions, we have to wait for the weathers, and because of these conditions, we cannot avail the foods at any time on whole year. So for example, we can grow wheat only in winter season. So the production of wheat only happens during the winter seasons. So that's why there is a variation of food products also. So collected and stored for use during periods of no food productions. Then during food production in India, we know that because of lack of food processing, we generally lose a lot of revenues which are we are getting from the food productions. For example, there is a lot of damage because of insects. There is a lot of spoilage because of not proper handling. Then there is a lot of spoilage due to insects, pests, and there is a lot of spoilage because of birds. So these all leads to the spoilage of food. It also leads to the poverty of the agriculture or in agrarian sector, which cause the agitation in the farmers. So because of spoilage of food, we generate a lot of revenues. So during begin to deteriorate shortly after harvest, gather or slaughter, continuously exposed to various microorganisms. So after the harvesting and after the gathering of the food products, not food products, that food agriculture commodities. So after gathering, after harvesting, we generally store the foods in a places or in a storeroom. So in that storeroom, there will be some infestation of insects pests which can lead to a spoilage of the foods, and there is a lot of growth of microorganisms, like if the relative humidity of that storage is more than 70% or 60%, so there will be growth of microorganisms in the storeroom which will enhance the growth of other microorganisms, and there is a lead to deterioration of the food. So as it also serves as source of nutrient to microorganisms. So whatever the food products or whatever the agriculture commodities we are harvesting, that is also the nutrients, and it is a source of nutrients for the microorganisms. So there are mainly three types of commodities or food products on the basis of their lifespan. So the first one is perishable, the second one is semi-perishable, and the third one is non-perishable foods. Perishable foods, what we can include? So this is the storage of life of some foods. So you can see this is the food products, and this is the storage life, and this is the lifespan on the basis of this is the classification of food on the basis of lifespan. So you can see here raw meat, fish, poultry, milk, fruits and vegetables. Their storage life is only for 1 to 2 days. Okay, so this is called perishable commodities. And we have also root crops and tubers like potatoes and onions. So it has also some capacity to increase their shelf life up to 10 to 20 days. After 10 to 20 days, it also going to be deteriorated. So these are semi-perishable items or foods. Then we have dried, salted, smoked meats, fish, cereals, dry fruits and nuts. So these are the mainly dry fruits like cereals, paddy, wheat. So these the shelf life of these commodities are more than 360 days. So these are called non-perishable commodities. The next one is sources of microorganisms in food. So what are the several sources of microorganisms which enhance the growth of microorganisms in food items? So there are the primary sources of microorganisms in food include soil and water. So we can see there is a lot of microorganisms present in the soil biome and even in the water biome. Okay, so there are some microorganisms which uh, come out from the soil, and there are some microorganisms which come out from water, and it will cause the uh, quality of the food, and it also deteriorate the quality of the foods. Then there is a plant products. So there is a lot of organisms which cause the disease to the plants, which also leads to the deterioration of the food products. Then we have food utensils. So whenever we eat the food, and if we could not able to wash the food utensils properly, then it will also there is some residue of bacteria which cause the food commodity. Then we have intestinal tract of man and animals. So there is a lot of bacteria also present in the intestinal tract of man and animals. Then we have food handlers. So if we could not able to handle the foods properly, then it will also lead to the deterioration of food. Then animal hides and skins, air and dust. So a lot of so we are also in later classes we are also discuss about the air microbiology. So air and dust. So also in atmosphere there is a lot of tiny microorganisms present in the air which we are could not by our naked eyes. And there is a lot of dust. So in dust there is a lot of fungi, a lot of bacteria present in the dust. Then what is food spoilage? So food spoilage is defined as any undesirable alterations brought about food rendering it unsuitable for human consumption. So whatever the things we generally consume, if there is a alterations in the food, and because of that alteration, if we could not able to consume that food, so we can say there is a spoilage in the food. This spoilage can cause due to physical factors, it can cause due to chemical factors, it can happen due to biological factors. How physical factors we will discuss in the later slides. Then food must be considered spoiled if it is contaminated with pathogenic microorganisms or various poisonous agents such as pesticides, heavy metals, etc. So what is pathogenic? So there is pathogenic. So pathos means generally disease and genic means generations. So whatever the living things by which there is a genesis of any disease, that is called pathogenics. And if there is microorganisms, so we can say there is a microorganisms which cause the disease or generate the specific disease, that is called pathogenic microorganisms. And there is a lot of poisonous agents such as pesticides. So when we use pesticides for integrated management for the crops, then there is some residue which during harvest it also present on that time. So it will also cause the deterioration of the food. Then there is a heavy metals which also cause the deterioration of the food spoilage. So in most cases there does not need to be an evident sign of spoilage. So the food might look normal and only after eating it or by careful bacteriological and toxicological investigation one is able to realize the defect. So the food decay or decomposition is implied when the term spoiled is used. So what are the causes of food spoilage? So there will be growth and activity of microorganisms. So the bacteria is and molds. So what is molds? So these are the yeast multifilaments of yeast, that is called mold. So if you have seen a bread or chapati, when if we kept for 1 to 2 days in air condition, so there will be some growth of molds on the surface of the chapatis. So that is called molds, which cause food spoilage. So they produce various enzymes that decompose the various constituents of food. So the second one is enzyme activity. So enzyme activity also cause of food spoilage. So action of enzymes found in plant or animal tissues start the decomposition of various food components after death of plant or animals. So as we know there are a lot of decomposers present in soil or also in the foods. So if the food is deteriorated, so there will be some growth of microorganisms which enhance the enzymatic activity. So as we know for decomposers there will be some enzyme activity happen, then they are able to decompose those products. So that is the also enzyme present in the food which can cause the and which can lead to the spoilage of food products. Then there will be chemical reactions. So these are reactions that are not catalyzed by enzymes, that is oxidation of fat. So there will be some oxidation and reduction happen, because of that there will be some food spoilage. Then there are some insects and other animals which can also damage the food products like ants. So if you have seen in our home when we have a sweet product, so there will be a lot of lines of ants come from outside. So it also cause the spoilage of food. Then rats. So in generally rat which cause the spoilage of wheat seeds. Then cockroaches. So we know that it is the very fittest animal on the earth, or we can say it is the fittest insects on the earth. You can find everywhere, anywhere cockroaches in big hotels, in bathrooms, in toilets, and these are very voracious. So these are the cockroaches which also cause the food spoilage. Then there is a mice. Then birds. You have seen a lots of bird eaters which can also lead to the food spoilage. Then larval stages of some insects cause damage. Then there is a physical changes. This includes those changes caused by freezing, burning, drying, pressure, etc. So microbial spoilage of food. So bacteria, yeast and molds are the major causes of food spoilage. They produce various enzymes that decompose the various constituents of food. Molds are the major causes of spoilage of foods with reduced water activity, that is dry cereals and cereal product. So when we reduce the water moisture content of any product, so we can increase the shelf life of those products. Bacteria spoil foods with relatively high water activity such as milk and products. So if we have seen milk like curds, so if we kept our milk for 1 to 2 days, so there will be some microorganisms. For example, if you have seen for making curds, we generally put some amounts of curds in the fresh milk. Then what happened? So all the microorganisms, so as we know lactobacillus bacteria present in the curd. So when we put the curd into fresh milk, So they will consume the nutrients of the food product, milk products, and it will multiply rapidly in mass multiplication. Then in the next day we can see there is a formation of curds of the entire milk. Then changes during spoilage. So there will be chemical changes. Okay, physical changes. Physical changes how? If you take milk, so it will be, if we take fresh milk, it will be in liquid. But when we put curd, one spoon of curd, then after some time it will be converted into jelly-like a structure or semi-fluid structures. So there will be chemical changes. How chemical changes? So if you have tested any products, for example, if you have tested any vegetables product are cooked, so after 1 to 2 days, if you cannot consume and kept in a corner of your kitchen, then after some time it will be uh, rotten and it smells very badly. So there will be changes in the chemical constituents present in the cooked food. Then there is a changes in flavors. So same examples you can prefer. There will be changes in color. How there will be changes in color? So if you put, for example, mango. If you kept raw mango in a kitchen or any corner, so after some time 1 to 2 days, there will be some that green raw mango converted into brown color. That's why, because there is a lots of chemical reactions happen. There will be a lot of attacks of microorganisms on the fresh products of raw mango, which leads to the changes in color. There will be changes in the textures. Then there will be changes in the nutrients. So what are the chemical changes? So the first one is fermentations. So fermentations, which generally carbohydrate rich food, sugar is converted into alcohol, acids and carbon dioxide, that is cereals, milks and syrups. So if you have seen liquor, so liquor is only made by the process of fermentations. So all the primary inputs like cereals, when we process fermentations, so that products converted into liquor. Also barley liquor, and there is a wine we can see. So all those products are the processed products of fermentations. So fermentations, what they do? So they converted the sugar into alcohol, acids and carbon dioxides. So if you are not processed, as we know liquor products when we buy from the stores, so they that are properly processed, then they will sell the products. But if we make these products at our home, and if that was fermented, so sometimes there will be poisonous, that that products also converted into methanol, and methanol cause the serious disease. Okay, so that is also change the food deteriorations and food products. Then there we have putrefaction. So protein rich food generally. So proteolysis leading releasing of free amino acids, and these amino acids undergo deamination or decarboxylations. For example, if we kept meat or egg for long time, so there will be some proteolysis happen. So proteolysis, so proteo means protein and lysis means breaking down of the material, like glycolysis. Glycolysis, so breakdown of glucose. That's how proteolysis, breakdown of proteins, leading release of free amino acids, and these amino acids undergo deamination and decarboxylation, that is meat and egg. Then we have rancidity. So oxidation of fat in the presence of oxygen releasing free fatty acids, that is rancidities. So generally lipid rich food items like we can say bhajis, pakoda. So these are also cooked by the uh, after frying in the oil, like butter we can say. So that is the example of rancidity materials. Then there are some spoilers of some common foods. These are the examples of some common foods and their causative organisms. So these are the fresh meat, and these are type of spoilers, and these are the causative microorganisms. Then we have cured meat. What is cured meat? So if you have seen during British time, so when the Britishers came to India, so they generally bought spices for their preservation of the meat. So they paste some spices on the surface of meat that in a shelf life of the meat, so that we can say that is the cured meat. So there will be some growth of moldy, soury, graining and slimy type of spoilage we can say, and these are the causative microorganisms. So we have fish also. So fish is caused by discoloration, putrefaction, because it is a protein rich food, so there will be putrefaction. Then we have poultry, so odor and slime. So odor, generally odor is used for bad smell. Then eggs, so green rot you can see, then colorless rot, then black rot, then fungal rot also grown on the products of the eggs. And these are the causative organisms like clostridium in fresh meat, pseudomonas, proteus, chromobacterium, then chromobacterium lactobacillus, you generally know the lactobacillus, then pseudomonas. Then we have penicillium. So I think you know about penicillium. So can you tell me what is penicillium and who invented first time discovered about the penicillium? Then aspergillus, then rhizopus, pseudomonas, micrococcus, bacillus, lactobacillus, streptococci, pediococcus, leuconostoc. So these are the causative organisms of the cured meat. Then we have fish causative organisms, that is pseudomonas, chromobacterium, halobacterium, micrococcus. Then we have poultry causative organisms, that is pseudomonas, alkagenes, then xanthomonas. Then we have X causative organisms, that is pseudomonas fluorescens, pseudomonas alkagenes, then chromobacterium, proteus, penicillium and mucor. Then we have fresh fruits, vegetables. So what are the types of spoilage? So there is will be bacterial soft rot, grey mold rot, rhizopus soft rot, blue mold rot, black mold rot, sliminess or souring. And what are the causative organisms? So these are Irvinia carotovora, Pseudomonas species, Botrytis cinerea, Rhizopus nigericum, then Penicillium italicum, then Aspergillus niger, Alternaria saprophytic bacteria. Then we have pickles, sauerkraut. So what is sauerkraut? So sauerkraut is also, generally made by the uh, uh, cabbage products. Okay, so these are the pickles and sauerkrauts. So black pickles, soft pickles, slimy kraut, pink kraut. Then we have sugar products and honey, then syrup products. So roppy syrup, yeast, pink syrup, green syrup and moldy. So Aerobacter, what are the causative microorganisms? So there is a Aerobacter aerogenes, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, as you know it is used in the wine production. Then Zygosaccharomyces, Micrococcus roseus, Pseudomonas fluorescens, then Aspergillus, Penicillium. So these are the causative microorganisms. Then we have also microorganisms which cause the spoilage of food in bread like moldy, ropey, red bread. So Rhizopus, Aspergillus, Penicillium, Bacillus, Serrata, marcescens, they also are the causative organisms. Then we have canned foods. So what types of canned foods we have generally seen? So we have seen the canned foods of Pepsi, Coca-Cola and a lot of juice and a lot of food products we also can in canned package. So flat sour spoilage, thermophilic anaerobic spoilage, sulfide spoilage, putrefactive anaerobic spoilage, then aerobic spore former spoilage, then mesophilic spoilage. And these are the causative organisms. So I have already uploaded the notes in Telegram channels. You can join the Telegram channels and you can access those notes. Then what are the factors affecting microbial growth in food? So there are generally two types of factors. The first one is intrinsic factors and the second one is extrinsic factors. So what is generally mean by intrinsic factors and what is generally mean by extrinsic factors? So intrinsic means internal and extrinsic means external. So external factors, what are the external factors cause the food spoilage or microbial growth? That is extrinsic factors. And what are the internal factors which cause the effect of microbial growth? That is intrinsic factors. So intrinsic factors, so these are inherent in the food. They include hydrogen ion concentration which already present in the food. So that's why it's intrinsic. Then moisture content and water activity. Then nutrient content of the food. Then antimicrobial substances present in the food. Then what is the biological structures of that food. Then we have extrinsic factors like storage conditions, temperatures, relative humidity and gases. Then let us discuss the first intrinsic factors, that is hydrogen ion concentration, which can also we can say pH, that is power of hydrogen. Okay, so most bacteria grow best at neutral or weakly alkaline pH, usually between 6.8 and 7.5. So there is a lot of bacteria grows between the pH of 6.8 and 7.5. Some bacteria can grow within a narrow pH range of 4.5 and 9.5. That example, Salmonella. So if you have read about Salmonella typhi, which causes the disease typhoids, so that type of bacteria can grow in a narrow range of pH. Then we have other microorganisms, especially yeast, molds and some bacteria grow within a wide pH range. That is, molds grow between 1.5 to 11.0 pH, while yeast grow between 1.5 and 8.5 pH. And these are the pH values of some food products. So the first one is beef. So you can see the range of pH values 5.1 to 6.2. Then we have chicken 6.2 to 6.4. Then we have milk products 6.3 to 6.8. Then we have cheese 4.9 to 5.9. Then fish 6.6 to 6.8. Then oyster, which is 4.6.3. Then we have fruits communities, which is less than 4.5 range and mostly less than 3.5 pH of range. Then majority of vegetables range is 3.0 to 6.1 range. Then microorganisms that are able to grow in acid environments, that are called acidophilic microorganisms. So acid means acid which pH is less than 7, and basic is the food products which pH is more than 7. And philic means loving. So whatever the acid loving products or whatever the acid loving microorganisms, so we can say that is acidophilic microorganisms. Then these microorganisms are able to grow at pH of around 2.0. Then yeast and molds grow under acid conditions. Other microorganisms such as Vibrio cholerae, which causes the disease cholera, are sensitive to acids and prefer alkaline conditions. Then most bacteria are killed in a strong acid or a strong alkaline environment except Mycobacteria. Then these are the tables of minimum and maximum pH for growth of some specific microorganisms. So you know Escherichia coli. So these are the indicators of contamination of water. So if you have test the water for drinking purpose, so if there is a presence of Escherichia coli, so we can say that product is fecal contaminated. So the pH range of Escherichia coli is minimum 4.4 and the maximum 9.0. So Escherichia coli can grow in a minimum pH of 4.4 and a maximum 9.0. That's how there is a Salmonella typhi which causes typhoid. For a minimum is 4.5 and the maximum is 8.8. Then all bacteria, so generally all bacteria like others, so minimum is 4.0 and the maximum is 9.0. Then we have molds, and the minimum pH range of molds is 1.5 and the maximum is 11. Then we have yeast, so minimum pH range of yeast is 1.5 and the maximum is 8.5. Then let us discuss the second factors in intrinsic, that is moisture content and water activity. So the effect of moisture is in terms of water activity, the amount of free water in a food medium. That is, moisture content or water activity. So whatever the water content in a food, that is moisture content. So the amount of free water available for biological activity is important for growth of many microorganisms. If there is a lack of this free water microorganisms, so there will be no any growth of microorganisms. Then water activity is defined as the vapor pressure of a food substance to that of pure water at the same temperature. So what is water activity? So water activity is water activity can be calculated by what are the vapor pressure of the foods, what are the vapor pressure of water present in the food, so that is water activity. Then the water activity of pure water is equal to 1.0. Then food products have a water activity of less than 1.0. A saturated salt solution has a water activity of 0. So you can see here the saturated salt solution has a water activity up to 0.75. So that's why in the meat products, in later we will see, in the meat products or the fish products, we will use the salt. Then this is the table of water activity of some products. So like raw meat and milk. So it has a maximum water activity up to 1.0. Then in meat we have 0.95. Then in boiled ham or sliced bacon, so we have 0.90. Then dried grains we have water activity up to 0.80. Then in pickle or honey we have water activity in less than 0.7. Then growth of microorganisms is greatly affected by the level of water activity food. So if the water activity is good, equal to 1.0, so there will be a lot of growth of microorganisms. So and if there is a less amount of water activity, so there will be reduction in the growth of microorganisms. So inhibition of growth occurs if the water activity for food is lowered beyond an organism's minimum level of water activity that is necessary for growth. Microorganisms have varied minimum water activity requirement that suppose their growth in food. And this is the minimum water activity that supports growth of some microorganisms like Clostridium 0.95, Bacillus cereus 0.95, Pseudomonas aeruginosa 0.95, Salmonella species 0.95, Staphylococcus aureus or anaerobic 0.90, Staphylococcus aureus aerobic 0.86, then Penicillium 0.82, most spoilage is 0.88, most spoilage moles 0.80, osmotic yeast or xerophilic yeast 0.70. So these are the minimum water activity of which supports the growth of some microorganisms. And the next factors are in the intrinsic factors, that is nutrients content of the foods. Microorganisms require proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, water, energy, nitrogen, sulfur, phosphorus, vitamins and minerals for growth. So these are the nutrients or minerals which are required for the growth of any living organisms present on the earth. Either they are plants, either they are microorganisms or either they are animals. So various foods have specific nutrients that help in microbial growth. Foods such as milk, meat, and eggs contain a number of nutrients that are required by microorganisms. So as we know, for making our body building, so we eat as you know gymnastic persons or a person who go to the gym, they consume a lot of eggs. Why? Because there are a lot of presence of proteins and a lot of nutrients present in the egg, which not lead also the building of the body, it also lead to the body building of the microorganisms itself. So these foods are hence susceptible to microbial spoilage. Antimicrobial substances. So antimicrobial substances in food inhibit growth. Various foods have inherent microbial substances that prevent microbial attack. Such inhibitors are like lactanin in milk and lysozyme in eggs, eugenol in cloves, allicin in garlic, and cinnamic acid in cinnamon. So these are the antimicrobial substances, and these are the also alkaloids present in the food products. Like in cinnamon, there is a cinnamic acid. In clove, we have eugenol. Garlic, we have allicin. So these all uh, reduce the growth of or reduce the growth of microbial organisms. Then what are the biological structures? So some foods have biological structures that prevent microbial activity or microbial entry. For example, meat has fascia, skin, and other membranes that prevent microbial entry. Then eggs have shell and inner membranes that prevent yolk and egg white from infections. Then hard shells of nuts, hard coats of some fruits. It also these are the barriers for microorganisms. Then we have extrinsic factors. So intrinsic factors are the external to the food that affect microbial growth. In these we have temperature of storage, presence and concentration of gases in the environment, relative humidity of food storage. So let us discuss one by one about the extrinsic factors. So the first one we have temperatures. So growth of microorganisms is affected by the environmental temperatures. So as you know, if you have consumed the pasteurized milk. So what is pasteurized milk? So generally the fresh milk which undergone the process of the pasteurization, which on the temperature of 121 degrees Celsius. So there is a HTST or LTLT, high temperature. So HTST, high temperature short time, and we have LT, sorry, we have STST, which is short temperature high time. So that's how we use to pasteurize the milk. So during pasteurizations, so all the microbial growth, these all are these all microorganisms inoculants are uh, eliminated from the milk. Then various microorganisms are able to grow at certain temperatures and not others. Bacteria can therefore be divided into the following groups depending upon their optimum temperature of growth. So every microorganisms have their optimum temperature for growth and their development. For example, if we kept our food products in freeze, so that generally the temperature of the food freeze, if we kept for less than 5 degrees Celsius, then our food are not going to. Then we have some microorganisms based on there are some types of microorganisms based on the temperature. The first one is psychrophilic microorganisms. So these are the microorganisms which grow best about 20 degrees Celsius but also down to minus 10 degrees Celsius in unfrozen media. Psychrophilic bacteria can cause food spoilage at low temperature. Several of the microorganisms found in the soil and water belong to this group. Then we have mesophilic bacteria. So what is mesophilic bacteria? So these are the microorganisms which can grow between 25 degrees Celsius and 40 degrees Celsius with an optimum growth temperature close to 37 degrees Celsius. Some such as Pseudomonas aeruginosa may grow at even lower temperatures between 5 to 43 degrees Celsius. Then none of the mesophilic bacteria are able to grow below 5 degrees Celsius or above 45 degrees Celsius. Most pathogenic bacteria belong to this group. So pathogenic bacteria like which cause the disease. Then we have thermophilic bacteria. So thermo means temperatures. So temperature, high temperature loving bacteria. So these grow at temperature above 45 degrees Celsius. Often their optimum growth temperature is between 50 degrees Celsius and 70 degrees Celsius. Growth of some bacteria occur at 80 degrees Celsius. Bacteria in this group are mainly spore formers and are of importance in the food industry, especially in processed foods. Then concentration of gases in the environment after the temperatures. So this relates to the presence of concentration of gases in the food environment. So various microorganisms required for growth either high oxygen tensions, that is aerobic, low oxygen tensions for microaerobic, or absence of oxygen, that is anaerobic. Some microorganisms may grow either in high oxygen tenses or in the absence of oxygen, that is called facultative anaerobes. Then food affected by various groups. So anaerobic or facultatively anaerobic spore formers are most likely to grow in canned foods. Microaerophilic bacteria are most likely to grow in vacuum packed foods since they have low oxygen tensions, while aerobic bacteria are likely to grow on the surface of raw meat. Aerobic molds will grow in insufficiently dried or salted products. Then we have, after concentration, we have relative humidity. So relative humidity is the amount of moisture in the atmosphere or food environment. Foods with low water activity placed at high humidity environment take up water, increase their water activity and get spoiled easily. For example, dry grains stored in an environment with high humidity will take up water and undergo mold spoilage. So these are the topics we have covered in this video, and if you have any questions about this topic, you can write just in the comment box. I will answer definitely. Thank you.